Hello everyone and welcome to Sim Racing Online for round 6 of the second series of the F1 Classic Series 1967. Today we are racing at the old Longford circuit. It was a race held on public roads and it twice held the non-championship Australian Grand Prix. Today it's hosting round 6 of 7 of the F1 Classic Series and one that could see us crowning a new champion. Jukka Drug could technically wrap up the championship today, but to do so he needs Martin McLoone to finish 6th or worse, and for Jukka to win the race and score at least pole position or fastest lap. In the case of Marty finishing 6th, Tim Muttram, he would need to finish 6th or lower. Sorry for the confusion there. And of course, if Muttram was to finish 6th, Jukka would need to score both fastest lap and pole position and win the race. So it's probably going to go down to the final round of the series, but still, Tim needs to keep his wits about him today and make sure that he doesn't make any silly mistakes that could cost him any last chance that he has of keeping his championship hopes alive. So we're just watching Martin McLoone in the Eagle on his qualifying lap. Qualifying has been running already for just over 7.5 minutes. Jukka Drug currently has the fastest time and actually solidifies that with another fastest time there, another improvement on his pole time, and he's currently faster than anyone else by a second. So Jukka really running away with it so far. Martin McLoone just crossed the line and went 6th. Let's watch Steph Williams in the Lotus, and Steph is just coming along the back straight as it stands. It's pretty difficult to tell exactly where he is on the circuit, actually, because of the layout of the track. He's heading down now to, I believe, Mountford Corner, which is the final corner of the lap. And indeed it is, there we go. And he's about to start another flying lap. So let's watch On Board with Steph Williams as he shows us around this long Longford circuit. It's long by name and long by nature. As you see, it's over 2 minutes long, technically quite short if you look at today's Grand Prix circuits. But anyway, 4.5 miles long. You head under a bridge to start the lap there. That was the section known as Viaduct. And then we head over King's Bridge, very narrow part of the track, and up towards Longford Corner, which is an acute angled right-hander round a building. Need to make sure you get a good exit because then you get catapulted along Tannery Straight. You actually go over a railway at that point in the track, so it's extremely bumpy and very, very old-fashioned. Through the Australian trees and through the fields, you see the mountains there to the left, and you have farm buildings and telegraph poles on either side before you brake towards Tannery Corner. Avoid the bank on the inside. That's certainly not a curb you want to hit. And then you head up towards Long Bridge, probably the trickiest corner on track. And you really don't want to be clipping that wall on the outside there. Now another braking zone up into Newry Corner. And then a little twist as we head off and down the straight known as the Flying Mile. And it's called that, of course, because you fly down it and it's a whole mile long. And Steph Williams in the Lotus 49 blasts down it and fills the plains with the sound of V8 engine. Top revs as well. Sounds like he's actually topping out a bit there. Before the heaviest braking zone on the track, which is down into Mountford Corner, the final turn, around the tyres, and out onto the start-finish straight. There is the Lotus 49 in all of its glory, and Williams crosses the line to improve on his time, but not improve on his position. He stays 5th as it stands. Let's have a look back to Max Shepherd, who is in an Eagle. He was telling me before this race that, as Tim Muttram goes 2nd there, 206.122. Shepherd was telling me before this race that the Eagle is extremely fast in a straight line, but as soon as you get to the braking zones, it gets monstered by the other cars around it, such as the Lotus, the Honda, and the Cooper. But Shepard just about to complete a flying lap, and that was not an improvement. In fact, I think that may have been an out lap for Max Shepard, and he goes on to a flying lap now. And a bit obscured by trees there, but of course this is only a public road, technically a street circuit, although not really much of a street. And you need to make sure you avoid the barriers, especially over the bridges, because that's where the track really narrows up. And Mac was saying he expects a pile-up or two, especially on the opening lap of the race. And hopefully we don't get too many of them. Yucca Drug improves his flying lap. He does a 2:05.235. That's a very, very impressive time from Yucca Drug there. Tim Muttram is in the Honda. He is the only other driver who stands a realistic chance of taking the championship away from Yucca Drug. Then again, they are actually in an incredibly close championship fight at this point in time. We've had 5 rounds and they're separated by just 1 point. So although only Yucca can wrap up the championship today, the chance there he's not going to. The chance there it's going to go right to the wire. And I'm definitely not saying that the championship fight is anywhere near over yet, because Tim Muttram stands just as much chance, very nearly, of taking this championship as Yucca Drug does. Although I must say, as Santini goes third there, Muttram is going to have to, or Drug is going to take a lot of beating today. Oh, and Muttram does improve on his time. He's now less than 6 tenths of a second behind Yucca's time. 2:05.832 is the new time from Muttram. And Santini's was a 2:06.381 as well. He's just about to complete a lap. Max Shepard is. He's about to complete the lap that we saw him start a couple of minutes ago. In fact, no, he's not, because he boxes and pulls into the pits. Here comes Yucca Drug, currently the fastest driver on track. Will he maintain that for the rest of the day, or are we going to see another driver take that pole position away from him? Yucca just braking towards the final corner. Ooh, clipping the tyres, riding up and over the tyres. And to be honest, this probably won't be an improvement on his lap. If it was going to be, it's certainly not now. Crosses the line and indeed goes 3 seconds down. A large proportion of that would have been from that mistake, I expect. Let's watch Tim Muttram in the Honda. Muttram, of course, in a championship fight with Drug. On his last lap, he was able to take a couple of tenths of a second off him. Can he do that again? Meanwhile, Lewis DeFore goes up to 9th place in the Cooper. Cooper's probably going to struggle here because of just how fast this circuit is and how few fast corners there are. It's all slow corners followed by straights. And here comes Tim Muttram down towards the final corner in the Honda. The Honda, one of the most powerful cars on the grid. Ooh, look at how you saw his car squirming under braking there. That's because Muttram has got his brake balance as far back as he possibly can. Basically, almost more braking is going to the rear wheels than the front. And that means that the car is very lively on turn-in, meaning he can get the car turned in faster, but it also means the car's less easy to control. But Muttram there sets a 2:05.428 and gets even closer to Yucca Drug's time. So definitely the challenge still on, but he's only going to get one more opportunity to do it. Here comes Yucca. And Yucca knows that Muttram is getting closer and closer. And he will want to increase his margin, increase his bracket. And see if he can get further away in terms of lap time than Tim Muttram. This is Yucca Drug's last chance, I think. I don't know if he's going to cross the time before the timer ticks 0, actually. He might just. And you see him there squirming under braking as well. also running with brake balance very far back. It's not for the faint-hearted. And Yucca crosses the line, and he will get another lap in here. So Yucca, as the checkered flag falls, will get another chance. Although he might not even need it. John Van der Geest is in the trees. Who else is on a flying lap here? Matteo Santini is currently third. What can he do? Can he get involved in the top two in these late stages? I'm also keeping an eye on the top two to see when they set laps. Santini's only got one more corner to go on this lap. Meanwhile, Yucca Drug's first sector's looking pretty quick. And Santini breaks into the final corner. Little bit of understeer. Well, actually, that was quite a lot of understeer. You saw how the front tyres just couldn't find the grip on the entrance. Actually, Grucock not here, sorry. And I have a feeling that I have been disconnected from the server. Let me quickly reboot the server and see if that helps. We will have this sorted out very quickly. Apologies for any inconvenience. But yeah, anyway. A very nice performance there from Yucca Drug. Very good qualifying lap. And that's his first step towards taking the championship. He's probably not going to take it today, but he can certainly get closer to it. And of course, pole position is worth 1 point, as well as track time, meaning advantage on track, of course. So already Yucca Drug has done everything that he needs to so far. But of course, you only get 1 point for qualifying. The race is a different matter with a maximum of 9 points on offer. So definitely not done yet, and we still have a close championship fight on our hands, as Drug and Muttram are separated by just 2 points, and will be starting on the front row of the grid there, absolutely together. Yucca in the Lotus 49, the very agile Lotus 49. Tim Muttram in the very powerful Honda, and both of those guys very, very experienced in this kind of car, both very quick. And we are now back with the service, so let's have a look through the order. There's Drug, followed by Muttram. You have, oh golly, it's not actually showing me the order in order there, but third place will be Santini, I believe. And you see we have 4 types of car on the grid today. We have Coopers, we have Eagles, we have Lotuses, we have Hondas, and we also have Brabhams, so that's actually 5 kinds. Apologies for the miscount. Although I believe we only have 1 Honda, that being Tim Muttram. Although does appear to be going very, very well. Now let's watch for the lights. We have 6 red lights. And when they go out, we will be underway for 45 minutes at Longford. Here we go. It's going to be Drug alongside Muttram, and it's go. So away we go at the start, and off the front. We're actually going 3 wide as Santini gets involved there. And Santini looks as if he's going to blast past both of them. And he's lost it. Santini getting very, very sideways, and there's slight contact between him and Drug. And he just about manages to hold it. Just keeps control of that car. Santini leads from Drug, but he's run wide and he's hit the wall. And Drug's been involved. Drug is off and into the trees. Goodness me, where's the track? He doesn't know. He's hit the barrier. And that's carnage on the opening lap of the race. Drug is off. Santini's off. Goodness me, Muttram leads this race. Shepard is second, Ferranti is third, followed by Brown and Van der Geest. But a huge, huge problem for Santini and Drug. Is Drug damaged? No, he's not, luckily enough. But what drama at the start, and that's real drama in terms of the championship as well. Because Tim Muttram is going to take the lead of the championship if they finish as they stand. And who would have thought that after Yucca Drug's fantastic qualifying performance? Utter drama here at the start. And somehow Tim Muttram already has a convincing lead. Ferrante's made a mistake. Off indeed. In the background goes... Now who's that in the wall? That would be Martin McLoone. So McLoone has spun it around and dropped right to the back. Also, Ferrante made a slight mistake, but managed to hold off Brown on that opening lap there. Also, Steph Williams is off. He's facing backwards now on the exit of the bridge. And loops it around. He's about to be passed by Martin McLoone. There he goes. John Van der Geest is in strife. He's slowing. So definitely the dramatic first lap we expected as someone's off again. That'll be McLoone. And heavy damage for John Van der Geest, I'm afraid. So Van der Geest will be pulling into the pits at the end of this lap, I expect. And at the end of the first lap, this is the order. It's going to be Tim Muttram leading, followed by Shepherd, Ferrante, Brown, Defoe, Roos, Grucock, Santini, Drug, and Williams, the top 10. And what drama at the start. We've had a change for 7th as well. And that's because Bill Grucock has been dropping. So Grucock in the Brabham. Now where's he gone? He's gone right down the escape road there. That's an interesting place to find a Grucock. But anyway, he's got going again in 11th position. Let's have a look back to the front of the order. Max Shepherd sticking with Tim Muttram here. And this is Shepherd's best running position of his... Oh, I've just jinxed him! He was saying before the race how it's difficult to find your braking zone, and he runs wide, and he's passed now by Fabrizio Ferrante, who goes up into 2nd position. Really sorry about that, Mac. But anyway, Ferrante goes through into 2nd. What can Shepherd do about slipstreaming his way back past Ferrante? Potentially, here he comes down the straight, and the Eagles' superior straight line performance has blasted its way past the Cooper towards the now what corner's that? That's right at the top of the map, so that'll be Newry corner. And Max Shepherd retakes 2nd position. Good move there from Mac, and he's putting up a good fight in the early stages of this race. Now what can Ferrante do about getting back at him? Ferrante technically has an outside shot of the championship still. There are 4 drivers still in contention for it. Yucca Drug and Tim Muttram are the main protagonists, but also Fabrizio Ferrante and Matteo Santini are still technically in with a shot of it, although Santini not anymore since he has not started this race. Unfortunately had to... Oh wait, he has. He's running 7th. Sorry, ignore me. That was... in fact, he's just taken 6th place, so a move for 6th there. And Santini has passed Jens Roos. Roos looking as if he might come back at him here, down towards the final corner, Mountford corner. Oh, and he locks up and he runs wide. And very nearly gets passed by Yucca Drug, who gets pretty terrible traction out to the final corner, but still manages to get alongside and past Roos. Now, who's that in the pits there? That is Martin McLoone, maybe? No. John Van der Geest. So Van der Geest back in the pits for the 2nd time, and he's overshot his box. So Van der Geest having a torrid time of it, I'm afraid. Into the pits for the 2nd time. Meanwhile, the fastest lap of the race is currently in the hands of Tim Muttram, and that's a further point as he attempts to pull away from Yucca Drug. Of course, that's a further point elect, as it hasn't been determined yet. Good evening to everyone joining us in the YouTube stream. I see Brett Metcalf saying good evening as well. Good evening to you, Brett. And if you missed the start of this race, it was extremely hectic. Santini took the lead of the race temporarily, and then came together with Yucca Drug, and spun into the barrier, taking them both off, giving Tim Muttram the lead of the race and the championship as it stands. But Muttram actually already has a 5-second lead there, so a really good performance so far from Tim Muttram. Only 6 minutes into the race. Behind him, though, it's closer between Shepherd and Ferrante. Meanwhile, Martin McLoone has spun. And manages to get going again. Does he have damage potentially? Nope. But he did lose 10th position and all of that. Oh, and Muttram getting very sideways there. Really kicking out the rear end. Just caught that on the edge of the screen. Not losing any time though. Losing possibly 0.4 of a second at max. But yeah, it's Muttram from Shepherd. Then Ferrante. And Brown and Dufour. Yucca Drug sets the fastest lap of the race in his pursuit of Matteo Santini, the driver who he came together with on the opening lap of the race. Let's have a look back at that fight as Drug is about to elevate himself into the points-paying positions if he can get past Santini here. Points go down to 6th place, although of course you do get a point for fastest lap. Drug is currently on for 2 points, 1 for pole position, 1 for fastest lap. Muttram is on for 9, so that's a 7-point difference. And as Muttram was 1 point behind, that means he'd go into the final round of the series, leading by 6 points if they were to finish this way. And Drug really needs to fight and really needs to work his way up the order if he wants to have a good chance of winning the championship in the final round. Of course, the final round is going to take place in a week's time at Monza, the old 10K layout of the track, where they used both the oval and the road course. So that's going to be a very exciting one. But for now, Yucca is still stuck behind Santini. He has to... Oh, wait, never mind. Santini's made a mistake and run over the bank on the outside. Yucca gets up his inside and goes through. So Drug is up into 6th place now. And Yucca is a driver who's yet to not finish on the podium this series. So he'll still not be satisfied with 6th place. And his next target is Lewis Dufour, who is now 2.1 seconds up the road. Actually fighting, though, with Phil Brown. Whoa, as Ferrante makes a mistake there. And Dufour loses control, and he's off the road and down the escape road. Manages to keep it out of the wall. So lucky to avoid Phil Brown there. He was out of control as he came up to the corner and had to duck to the inside of Phil Brown to avoid him there. Good avoiding action from Lewis Dufour. But yeah, he's lost several positions from that. Just as I said, Drug got through and Santini got through, and Dufour, with all of that, is now outside of the points-paying positions. But yeah, lucky not to come away much worse from all of that, and returns to the race in 7th position. John Van der Geest, I'm afraid, has now retired from this race. He is our first DNF. And we have 11 cars remaining, 11 of our 12 starters. As they head over the railway there to Drug and Santini. Santini sticking with Drug there for the time being. 5th and 6th positions. Although I'm expecting Drug to start getting away as soon as he breaks the slipstream. His next target will be Phil Brown in 4th position. And that will be the next car he has to get past in his fight, his plate for the championship. And I'm really not sure how to get rid of that message at the top of the screen, so I'm really sorry about that. But whatever the case, here is Yucca Drug catching Brown. Oh, I think Dufour's been off again. He has indeed. And that's on the bridge. That's a dangerous part of the course to go off on. So has he picked up damage? Yes, very convincingly. Lewis Dufour very damaged. And he's going to have to get out of the way for Steph Williams here. He's weaving all over the track. He's completely out of control. And he drops to 10th position. Oh, as Drug has now managed to force his way past Phil Brown out of the final corner. So Drug up into 4th. ground down into to 5th, and Drug with that sets the fastest lap of the race. So a good recovery drive so far from Yuka Drug. His next target will be for Fabrizio Ferranti for 3rd place. And as I mentioned earlier on, Drug is yet to finish off the podium so far this season. So he will be desperate to fight his way back past Fabrizio Ferranti and get up onto the podium. Here's Santini now. Oh, as Shepard's dropped down. Shepard looks as if he's had a bad exit to that corner there, and loses 2nd place to Fabrizio Ferranti. Here comes Yuka Drug. That was Longford corner, incidentally. And Drug will be properly in his slipstream up the Tannery straight. This is over 3rd position and the last spot on the podium. And they'll both want it, but Drug goes to the inside of Tannery corner. And he makes it stick. Oh, who was that? I think that was Santini. It was indeed. Santini's off in the field. Now, how did that happen? He stopped the car, and he's out of the race. We've lost Santini, and that looked to be a brake failure or something. But Santini was an outside shot of the championship. Unfortunately, he's not going to be anymore. And Matteo Santini becomes our 3rd retirement to the race, because unfortunately we've also lost Luis de Four. So 3 drivers out, and Santini just shot straight on in the background. But Drug takes 3rd position away from Max Shepard. Shepard sticking in his slipstream though as they go along the flying mile. Oh, Ferranti has a slight lock up there in 2nd place. And next on Drug TV, he's got to fight his way past Fabrizio Ferranti for 2nd place. He's catching up at a decent rate of knots. Just 1.5 seconds separate the two of them now. But then again, Shepard sticking on his rear for now. Needs to get clear of Shepard first before he does anything else. John Vandegeest says, spent a whole week training, and then Steph Williams punts me into a wreck. Sorry to hear that, John. Unfortunately, I can't judge the incident because I haven't seen it, but as you can tell, John blames Steph. Shepard actually has had a very nearly had a chance of getting past Yuka Drug there. Took a little swipe at him. John also says, I really wanted to do this race. I love Longford. I'm so sorry to hear that, John. Of course, John was our 1st retirement. And, yeah, hope you have better luck at Monza. Keep your spirits up and you should be okay. But, yeah, just poor luck, I'm afraid. Let's take a look at Yuka Drug because he is catching Ferranti at a decent rate of knots. He's now less than a second behind him, and we have a proper fight on here for 2nd position. Oh, and we've lost Jens Roos, so Roos is now our 4th retirement, and suddenly we're dropping like flies. 8 drivers remaining. Back to Longford though, or back to the race, and Yuka is challenging Ferranti very nearly. What can Ferranti do about holding back his championship rival? Of course, Ferranti, another long shot for this championship, still in mathematical contention for it, but he effectively needs Drug and Muttram to DNF here if he's going to have a chance of winning the championship as we head into the final round. It's unlikely, although I've seen stranger things. Haven't actually seen Stranger Things TV series. Don't know if it's good or not, but whatever the case, you get what I mean. Yuka Drug now within half a second, within 0.4 of a second of Fabrizio Ferranti as they go over the bridge, King's Bridge, that's known as, and out onto the Tannery Straight, over the railway tracks. to be honest, if these tyres were slick, they'd probably be at risk of puncturing them over the railway tracks there. And Drug, with the slipstream, powers his way past Fabrizio Ferrante. That's easy. Well, he made it look easy anyway. Just got the overspeed. Through he went, and Fabrizio Ferrante is left in the dust. And Drug, despite dropping right to the back on the opening lap of this race, is already up to second. It's been a fantastic recovery drive for him. And he's doing a great job. As it stands, he holds the fastest lap and pole position, meaning he will score 8 points. And Muttram will only gain 1 point over him. Meaning, in fact, that these two drivers will go into the final round on equal points if they're to finish like that. Goodness me, wouldn't that be a championship showdown? It would basically be whoever finishes ahead out of Muttram or Drug wins it. To be honest, that would be a fantastic, astonishing end to the championship. And anyway, out onto the straight we head again. Yucca Drug again sets fastest lap just to make sure that he's going to score that extra point required to go into the final round, equal on points with Tim Muttram. It's going to be 2 wins apiece between Muttram and Drug if they're to finish like this. Of course, the other 2 drivers who have won races in this league were Matteo Santini and Daniele Scarpa, who only did 1 round, which was Bridgehampton. And ironically, the only round that wasn't broadcast. So unfortunately, Daniele Scarpa, despite doing an amazing job in that race, missed out on all the screen time. He won that race in the end by roughly 5.5 seconds. Well, exactly 5.5 seconds apparently. But anyway, Ferrante dropping back a bit now from Yucca Drug. Let's have a look up to our leader, Tim Muttram. He's been leading for a very long time, but we haven't really seen much of him because he's been just too far out in front. Let's ride on board to them as he shows us exactly how this track is done. Blasting down the straight. It'd be nice to have a speedometer. Not entirely sure quite how fast he's going, but I'd estimate that to be roughly 160 miles per hour. As you see him braking and turning the car in and kicking it out on exit there. As he gets the acceleration down, puts the accelerator down. Oh, there's a Ferrari in the middle of the track. There's a... Now who is that? In fact, there are no Ferraris in this race, so that's a car in the pit lane. Yeah, that's just a parked car in the pit lane, and I'm afraid that's extraordinarily dangerous. So I'm glad this is only sim racing, and I hope no one gets caught out by that. But anyway, Phil Brown has been catching Max Shepard gradually. Brown 6th in the championship, Shepard 9th. And Shepard currently on for his best result of the series so far. His best result so far has been 5th place, which he scored twice. One last season, another last time out. Or not last time. Actually, let me double check that. Yeah, sorry, he's actually finished 5th on 3 occasions, I believe. No, it was only twice. Sorry, because last year at Zandvoort he finished 6th. Never mind. Finished 5th at Riverside, finished 5th at Charade. And he's on for 6th, so long as he can hold off Brown. But it's going to be a hard task as Brown... Whoa! Slot Up is inside and there's contact and they both go into the wall heavily. And they're blocking the track, so hopefully they can get going quickly before they get collected. But yeah, Brown and Shepherd blocking the track. And I'll have to look at that on replay and see exactly what happened. Oh no! And Shepherd's hit the wall trying to get going. And they've collided again. And again they block the track and Brown is back in the pits. What about Shepherd? He manages to reverse to safety. It looked to me as if... well, looking at the replay, it looked to me as if Shepherd just didn't quite know he was there. Through into 4th place goes Bill Grucock. Goodness me. And you saw that one coming from a mile off. And as they got going again, Shepherd just clipped the barrier, just misjudged it. And took Brown off again. Martin McLoone is also out of this race, so only 7 drivers remaining. Brown is in the pits and maybe out, so we potentially only have 6 drivers remaining in this race from the 12 starters. What a disaster! And Brown's out! What a disaster! From that outside... Oh, Shepherd's losing it again! Do we have damage for Max Shepherd, potentially? Oh, yeah, heavy damage! No! He was running so well! Well, you have to feel for him, but it does mean that anyone who finishes this race is going to score points. What a disaster. And it looked to me from that outside shot like Shepherd just didn't know that Brown was there. Although I'm not entirely sure about that one. I'd have to see onboards, I expect. So don't take my word for it, I'm not assured. But yeah. Goodness gracious. Hello to Raccoon, who says, oh no, hello everyone, is this Wreckfest? Well, it's been a bit of a disaster this last lap, but yeah, good to see you here anyway, Raccoon. And also Andrew Williams saying DNF Series 2.0. It has been a bit of a race of attrition so far. We only have 6 drivers remaining out of 12 starters. And I'm really sorry to see that, actually. Quite a few disappointed drivers after this one, I should imagine. Tim Muttram won't be disappointed, though, so long as it stays this way. He's currently leading this race by 14.5 seconds. Completes another lap. That's quick. Let's have a look back to Fabrizio Ferrante running in 3rd place in the Cooper. In fact, one thing I've noticed is that the top 4 cars in this race... Oh, Shepherd's now out, I'm afraid. Max Shepherd is retired, and that's a huge shame, because had he finished this race, he would have scored a point towards the championship, and that's really gutting to see. 5 drivers remaining, less than half of the starters are still running in this race. Oh, and thanks, Raccoon. He says, nice to hear your commentary once more, Penny. Ah, thank you, Raccoon. That's very nice of you to say. Anyway, Fabrizio Ferrante running 3rd place in the Cooper, and as I was saying, the top 4 drivers are actually different makes. You've got Honda, followed by Lotus, followed by Cooper, followed by Brabham, and very briefly you also had an Eagle in that mix as well, until that incident with Phil Brown. John Van de Geest says, I don't think you can pit on this track. I couldn't. Oh, that's a shame. Marty McLean says, so sorry for knocking the camera car out of the pit. Now that's why the car's sitting in the middle of the track, and unfortunately there's nothing we can do about that. So unfortunately there's just a random Ferrari sitting on the track on the pit straight, and hopefully no one hits that. But yeah, that's a bit of an issue. Goodness me. Max Shepherd, really sorry to see you retire in that way. He obviously blames Phil for that. He says, love getting taken out and then having to retire. Really fantastic driving from Phil there, sarcastically. Now, I'm not so sure. I'd have to see a replay. I'd have to see outboard cameras and onboard cameras, I expect. Yeah, I don't want to hedge blame onto either driver because we only got one camera view. I have to say, it looked pretty 50-50 to me, but, you know, I don't want to judge, and all due respect to you, Mac, and also to Phil Brown. That's an interesting situation, having a random car in the middle of the track that simply no one can remove. But you see it every time the cars go along the start-finish straight. It's in a little bit of an awkward angle. There's definitely a racing line to the left, and well, they certainly wouldn't have stopped the race for that back in 1960, but 1967. But whatever the case, it's still a little bit worrying, and yeah. Interesting story as well as to how it got there. Don't worry about it, Martin. But yeah, I can't say I've ever seen that happen before. Tim Muttram continuing to lap this Longford circuit. It's a circuit that hosted the Australian Grand Prix twice in 1959 and 1965. That was pre-Formula 1 Australian Grand Prix. Well, not pre-Formula 1, but it was a non-championship race. It was officially part of the Tasman Series, which was the New Zealand and Australian Grand Prix Series, effectively. And in 1959, this race was won by... in 1959, this race was won by Stan Jones in a Maserati. And in 1965, it was won by Bruce McLaren in a Cooper. As Yucca Drug sets the first lap of the race there, again going even faster. That's a great performance there from Yucca. And the lap record here at Longford is actually held by a sports car. It was Chris Amon in a Ferrari P4. And the reason it's a sports car rather than a Grand Prix car is because of the long straights. Sports cars tend to be more streamlined and more powerful than Grand Prix cars, and as a result, Chris Amon's Ferrari holds the record of a 2:12.6. However, these 1967 F1 cars, we've seen them setting 2:05s so far today, so definitely would have beaten this lap record. Interestingly, Longford is on the Isle of Tasmania, so not even on mainland Australia. But anyway, here's Steph Williams, still running in 5th position. Had a couple of issues towards the start of the race, but is continuing on his way. And knows that so long as he finishes the race, he will score 2 points, which isn't a bad tally. Especially since those would be Steph's first points of the season. So that would be a good performance from Steph Williams. And I wouldn't accept anyone saying that he doesn't deserve them. Because finishing a race at a circuit like this is very, very tricky and certainly deserving of points. Good evening to Can You Sell, joining us in the YouTube chat. Hello to you, and I hope you're enjoying this so far. But anyway, so Steph Williams continues to lap in his Jim Clark liveried Lotus 49. There were several versions of the Lotus 49. It didn't just run in Grand Prix spec. Of course, Lotus also entered a modified 49 at the Indy 500. It won that with Jim Clark. Let me just double check those results. Well, it was definitely a car based on the Lotus 49. I may have got that wrong. Lotus 49, of course, raced in Formula 1 for 4 seasons. And in all 4 of those seasons, it was in the top 4 in the Constructors' Championship. 67, it was second. It was only cost the championship by poor reliability. 68, it won with Graham Hill, Jim Clark, Jackie Oliver, all scoring points for the all scoring podiums for the car. And then 69, it was 3rd place in the season in the championship, with a couple of wins from Hill and Rindt. And then in 1970, it won its final Grand Prix with Joachim Rindt at the Monaco Grand Prix, before it was replaced by the newer Lotus 72. Let's have a look again at Tim Muttram, still running away with this up front, maintaining the gap at 14.6 seconds. Just to update you on the car that... oh, sorry. Just tripping over my my facts there, but whatever the case. Just to update you on the car that won the Indy 500 for Team Lotus, it wasn't a Lotus 49. It was actually the previous version of the car. And that was... oh golly, it doesn't say. I'm so sorry. Anyway, it's registered as a Team Lotus, so I'll leave it at that. And that was in 1965 with Jim Clark. But yeah, Lotus absolutely ran the heck out of that 49. When you get a car that's competitive and winning races for 4 years in a row, you know you've made a legend. And that doesn't tend to happen nowadays. That was only really something you could do back in the 70s. Ah, there we go. I believe the car that won at Indy was based on the Lotus 43, I think. Or was it the 33? It may have been. It was the 43. My apologies. So anyway, that's all of that for you. Tim Muttram sets fastest lap, and that is quite significant, because that means that unless Drug can go faster, they will go into the final round with Muttram leading the championship by 2 points, rather than Drug leading. Rather than equal on points. My apologies. So that was effectively there, Muttram taking 2 points away from Yuka Drug with that lap. Now what can Drug do about getting that back? That's quite a turnout for the championship there. And Max Shepard says, I think Tim has it in the bag if he doesn't make a mistake. Well, don't curse him, because we still have just under 10 minutes to go. But yeah, he is still driving utterly fantastically. And still has a gap of over 14.5 seconds. Here's Fabrizio Ferrante. Haven't had a look at Yuka Drug in a while. Running in second position. Reckon says, I would love to own a pretty little house somewhere close to the track. The landscape looks awesome. Indeed it does. Australia, probably not the greatest place to live in the summer unless you're a fan of heat. I'm certainly not. I would overheat and shrivel up like a prune. But yeah, very scenic area. You have the mountains off in the distance there. You have the open fields. Very much kangaroo territory. And it is a very pretty track. Actually, I'm not sure if it is kangaroo territory because this is Tasmania, and if I remember correctly, kangaroos only inhabit the mainland. Probably have terrible internet connection around there anyway. Ooh, and I think Tim Muttram just had another fastest lap of the race, so he's absolutely going for fastest lap now. Trying to take that further and further away from Yucca Drug. And just make sure that he scores those 2 extra points. Of course, it's 1 point for fastest lap, but he takes 1 point away from Drug by doing so, so it is effectively 2 extra points. And it was a 205.906, so remember that. If Drug can go faster than a 205.906, then he can get that. He can get those 2 points back. 1 point technically, 2 points effectively. So, fewer than 8 minutes remaining in this race now. And the order is still Muttram, followed by Drug, Ferrante, Grucock and Williams. They're quite spread out for now, but that certainly doesn't mean it's over yet. Grand Prix racing is always unpredictable. And yeah, John Van der Geest points out that this is very much a fastest lap battle now between Muttram and Drug. Indeed it is, and it's essential for the, well, not essential, but very important for the championship. As if Muttram takes fastest lap, he will go into the final round of the series, leading the championship by 2 points. And if Drug takes fastest lap, he will go into the final round of the championship, equal on points with Muttram. And if someone else takes the fastest lap of the race, which is a long shot but could technically happen, then Muttram will go into the final round of the championship leading by 1 point. Muttram's last lap, not an improvement. He was about 7/10 down. Drug slides out the rear end there. Tyres aren't really an issue, so the cars are still... Whoa, Drug actually less than 1/10 of a second off the fastest lap there. I tell you what, even if this race isn't close, the race for the championship will be. Can you imagine if this was the final round of the championship and if final lap determined who won and who lost? It's 1 point for fastest lap. However, of course, effectively in this fight it's 2 points between Muttram and Drug, because if they take that 1 point, then their opponent can't, which is why it makes a difference of 2 points depending on who gets it here. And can you imagine if, for example, Fabrizio Ferrante came in and spoiled their party and set fastest lap? Now that would be exciting. Drug is definitely pushing. We're watching him push. And Bill Grucock sets a pretty good lap there as well. His personal best of the race so far. Nowhere near fastest lap, but his fastest lap, and that's a good job from him. 5 minutes remaining, and you'd be forgiven for forgetting that this is a race and believing that this is a time trial. You're not watching qualifying, this is a race. And it's probably one of the weirdest races I've ever commentated, but to be honest, I'm quite enjoying it. Yucca Drug coming through to complete another lap of the race. Muttram's was down. Muttram's time was down. What about Drug? Out of the final corner. That was a much tidier exit than he got last lap. And this has looked to be a very good lap for Yucca Drug. Crosses the line. It's fastest! Yucca Drug goes fastest! And if they stay this way, they're going to go into the final round of the championship equal on points. Fantastic lap from Yucca Drug. That was brilliant. Wow. Fabrizio Ferrante sets his fastest lap of the race as well, but he's quite a way down on the leaders. Drug's fastest lap was a 2:05.783, so that's now the benchmark. And to be honest, this late on in the race, it's going to take quite a lot for Muttram to beat that. But will he push for it anyway? Of course, he doesn't technically need to. It's not as if Drug is going to win the championship by doing this. In fact, at the start of this race, Drug could have wrapped up the championship. However, now that Muttram is guaranteed a point, he, of course, is guaranteed to take the championship to the final round. Drug made a slight mistake there, ran slightly wide, so this lap's not going to be an improvement. Ah, thanks for the comments, Rakeen. Penny the commentator, can turn pretty much a dead race into something quite enjoyable. To be honest, I am really enjoying this. I know that in terms of actual on-track battles, it's exciting. Not exciting, sorry. It's very spread out. But whatever the case, in terms of the championship implications, this is pretty much thrilling. And Muttram sets fastest lap, 2:05.503. He takes the lead of the championship right at the dead. Less than 2.5 minutes remaining in this race, and Tim Muttram takes it. Fantastic lap, and I really wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting anyone to improve, and somehow Muttram's pulled it out. And I suppose that shows me not to assume that the race is over before it's over. It's a 2:05.503 from Tim Muttram. That is a blistering lap. And let's watch on board with Tim, as requested there by Raccoon. John said, now Tim will answer for sure, and he did. 2 points go the way of Tim Muttram. What is going on in these late stages? Braking towards the top corner, and you see the supreme car control from on board Tim Muttram's car there. He tends to drive outward he tends to steer outward rather than inward for every corner he enters. Watch this. Out. There he goes. And on the exit. That was through Neri corner. And this may well be the final lap of the race from Muttram. I'm not sure if we're going to get another lap after this or not. I didn't quite see when he completed that lap. I believe Andrew Williams may be in the pits. Let me just check that. Yeah, oh, Steph Williams, sorry. Andrew's one of our viewers, not one of our drivers. Muttram looks as if he is going to get one more lap. So this is the penultimate lap, heading on to the final lap here. Williams, of course, was guaranteed 2 points anyway, so it doesn't really matter that he's retired, although it's still a bit of a shame. Muttram's lap was quick, but it's not the quickest lap. Final lap of the race now for Tim Muttram. Last chance for Drug to go quicker. Can Drug respond to the supreme pace of the Honda? Not that last time around. Drug set to 2:06.2. That's not an improvement. He needs a 2:05.5. Final lap of the race. And as it stands, Tim Muttram will go into the final round of the championship with 2 points. Steph says, Caitlin, you know your car is blocking the track. Yes, I do, and unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that. It was actually pushed onto the track by a fellow competitor, and the only thing I could do about that is leave the server. So unfortunately there's nothing I can do about my car blocking the track. But luckily everyone's avoided it. So Tim Muttram heading through the final few corners now. Sorry, I've just taken a quick drink of water, but yeah, Muttram heading on to the flying mile. And towards the final corner, it's been a dominant performance. 14.1 seconds over Yucca, sorry, and the fastest lap as it stands. Final corner for Tim Muttram. What a performance he's been. He's kicked out the rear end. And Tim Muttram crosses the line to win. In fact, he's slowing and crosses the line in the pit lane, killing several mechanics, and wins at Longford. Fantastic performance from Tim Muttram. And he will go into the final round of the championship in the lead. Drug crosses the line and does not set fastest lap. Muttram's got it and he's dilly-dallying in a field somewhere. Yucca Drug, second place. Great recovery try from him, but not quite fast enough to take the joint lead of the championship. So Muttram leads by 2 points. What an exciting finish to this race, despite the fact that the winning margin in the end was something like 14 seconds. Fabrizio Ferrante is going to claim third position in the Cooper. Really not a bad performance from Fabrizio either. Crossing the start-finish line, and Fabrizio Ferrante finishes third place. Unfortunately, he's been knocked out of the contention for the championship, but still a very decent performance from him. Bill Grucock is off on the last lap of the race. He's going to be the final finisher, but anyway, yeah, he's off on the final lap. Manages to recover. Is there damage? Yes, there is, and he's off the road and needs to be careful here to get it back to the finish. He doesn't need to risk anything. Then again, it doesn't matter if he does either, because he's going to score those points no matter what. He's got no one to overtake him and no one to overtake. So Bill Grucock will finish in fourth position, guaranteed. Meaning that the finishing order is Muttram from Drug, from Ferrante, from Grucock. Now, I believe that Williams and Shepherd will still score points despite not finishing this race. By my understanding, anyway. And we had more DNFs in Brown, McLean, Roos, Santini, Defoe, and Van der Geest. Grucock exits the final corner and crosses the line to finish fourth. And that's the lot here from Longford. Join us in a week's time as we have a championship finale from the Monza 10K layout. It's going to be an exciting finish to the series, and of course the championship leaders are separated by just 2 points. They go into the final round on the same number of wins. And as I keep saying, just 2 points between them. It's going to be close. It's Muttram versus Drug. Thank you all for joining us this week. And we will see you in just a week's time. Good night.